What's up everyone and welcome to this video. Today we're going to be taking a look at an article from EGM about rumors that Grand Theft Auto 6 will not be coming out until 2025. For those of you not familiar with EGM, it's Electronic Gaming Monthly. They used to be a magazine that came out way back in the day. I think they were one of the first video game magazines, and I still remember the first edition that I ever bought. It was the I think Zelda Ocarina of Time edition with Link pulling a sword out of stone for the Nintendo 64. I still remember that article in that magazine. I just thought it was awesome, like the amount of content, the amount of previews, the in-depth quality of the writing. I mean, I can't say that necessarily, you know, it's the same as it was back then, but the cool thing about it is the guy that originally started the magazine, he recently purchased it and got everything back set up, and now it's a digital-only format. But they seem to be having some pretty good reviews and previews on there. So I figured I'd go ahead and go over this news with you today for those of you that are into video games. If you're new to the channel, I'm Cadwin. You can subscribe to me on BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, as well as YouTube. And there you go. So let's go ahead and get started with this video. Alright, so Grand Theft Auto 6 might not launch until 2025, rumors say. The next Grand Theft Auto game might be further off than we previously thought, according to recent corroborated rumors. Battlefield leaker Tom Henderson recently posted a video that laid out the most recent rumors he heard in regards to Grand Theft Auto 6. In the video, Henderson states that the next game in the series might not launch until 2024 or 2025. The game was initially thought to launch in 2023 due to a Take-Two SEC filing that showed a significant spike in marketing spend for fiscal year 2024, which takes place from April 1st, 2023 to March 31st, 2024. One of the main reasons for the delay, according to Henderson, is Rockstar's reported efforts to shift away from crunch culture for its employees, as well as issues caused by living through a global pandemic. Yeah, I can understand the pandemic thing, especially with the whole issue that happened in the Suez Canal, I think it was, where that ship got stuck and it blocked up like the supply chain for like a long time. And we're still having issues getting, I think, graphics cards. I think you can get graphics cards now, but they're like $800 instead of the $400 price that they should be. So I would... If you heard that, that's my dog saying hello. So yeah, with the supply chain, I'm sure that's like impacted things. And you know, even though a lot of these companies, obviously they develop things digitally, I'm sure it's still quite different working from home than it is being in a specific office. Like, I'm not sure. I mean, I know like a lot of jobs you can work from home, but I'm not sure if like those specific machines would require special, I don't know, some kind of programs or whatever, but they could probably do it at home, but who knows. And I think it's also interesting to note that Rockstar is trying to move away from a crunch culture for its employees. I think that's really good. You know, a lot of video game companies, like, they participate in crunch culture, which is basically, you know, when they're trying to get the game released, everybody works all these crazy hours and people are getting burned out and stuff. And so that takes a little bit longer for the games to come out. I'm fine with it, especially in that industry. And you know, I like video games, and I want to make sure that the people that make them are, you know, taken care of. And supposedly a lot of the engineers in software development for video games, I've heard that they're not paid as much as other engineers. I'm not sure if that's true, but I guess the companies utilize the fact that a lot of people are willing to work for less money in order to work on the games that they're passionate about. So that could be a thing, but who knows. And props to Rockstar for actually trying to move away from crunch culture. Let's just hope that they're able to find another way to make sure that we get games in a reasonable amount of time. Because I'm not sure how long they've been working on Grand Theft Auto 6. I assume it's probably been a while. So if it's going to be another 4 years, you know, it might have been 5 to 7 years that they're working on this game. So I guess we'll see. Now that it's uncommon for us to wait a really long time for games, you might remember Cyberpunk, and we all know how that turned out. But hopefully CD Projekt Red is taking care of that, and I think they might be trying to redeem themselves. And later in this article, it mentions that the guy that founded, or I guess like designed or created Grand Theft Auto, he left and started his own company. And I think a lot of people from CD Projekt Red have started their own company as well. So maybe those two companies will offer some new games. Because one thing that I've noticed about this console generation, particularly PS5 and Xbox Series X, is I didn't really feel like there were any specific games that sold the system. When the original Xbox came out back in the day, I bought that day one, primarily because I wanted to get Morrowind. And then when Xbox 360 came out, I got that because I wanted to play Oblivion. I really believe that Oblivion and Morrowind helped sell those specific consoles. But PS5, I mean, there's some good games on it now, but it's not to the point where I'm like, you know, I either can't play it on my PC or I absolutely have to go get a console. And I'm definitely not paying, what is it like on eBay right now, like $1,200 for a PS5? I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I'll just play my Switch and I'll play some PC games in the meantime. However, the continued success of Grand Theft Auto Online and the impending Xbox Series XS and PlayStation 5 ports of Grand Theft Auto 5 probably make it more financially viable to push back the next game too. I mean, think about that. They're actually porting over Grand Theft Auto 5, which is like a 6-year-old game, to PS5 and Xbox Series X, which is fine. I'm sure it'll get some graphical updates and all that, and that's cool. It's a great game. You know, it deserves to be ported over, but it's like, come on, like, you know, we need something new here. Henderson also claims that the game will return the series to Vice City, but it will be set during modern times. That's pretty cool. I think Vice City is probably one of the best games ever made. Not only does it include the 80s and Miami, which is just like an awesome scenery. Well, it's not Miami, it's Vice City, but you know. But is this such like a really, I don't know, it was a breakthrough game, I think, for its point in time. Oh man, I think that was PlayStation 1. Yeah, I don't think, or that might have been PlayStation 2, I forget, but I remember being blown away when I first saw Grand Theft Auto 3. I was just like, man, I can't believe these graphics. Because I remember hearing about Grand Theft Auto 1 and 2, and I was like, you know, the top-down perspective wasn't really doing it for me. But when I saw like the 3D world, I was just totally mesmerized. There have been a few instances in my life when I've seen games and they've actually managed to like just really impress me and provide that, you know, oh wow moment. One was when I was a kid and I went to Blockbuster and they had a Nintendo 64 with Super Mario there. And I still remember to this day, like, grabbing the controller, jumping through the painting, and just being blown away at the graphics. To go from, like, you know, side-scroller to that was amazing. And, like, you know, the very beginning of the scene where you can, like, grab Mario's face and move it around, I just thought that was incredible. Another time that I thought graphics were amazing and really mind-blowing was GTA 3, you know, and Vice City. I thought that was crazy. Oculus Rift is one of those few things, like, or just virtual reality in general, where if you play it and then that whole immersion factor, that's, I think, something that's game-changing. And as things have gotten more advanced and they're moving away from all the wires, that might be another realm eventually that we can look into for video games. There will be multiple protagonists, like with Grand Theft Auto 5, and one of those protagonists will be a woman for the first time in the series' history. Now, I think that's cool. I think that if anyone can make a cool, compelling female character, it would be Rockstar. They're really good at making complex characters that are not just like, you know, whatever, some singular in nature. Even in GTA 5 with like Trevor, you know, he's got his own issues and stuff, but you know, he was an interesting character. I remember him. I can't remember the other two guys, but I think they'll be able to do it right. Just as long as they make her like a compelling, interesting character that has a unique story, a unique perspective, is you know, an interesting woman that has like why is she in the world of GTA 5? Like, what makes her unique? And if it's something like that, that's cool. Like, just as long as it's a good story, it's an interesting character, I think that's great. You know, cool. Let's have at it. I have no problem with that. You know, it's just as long as they make it like a cool character. You know, that's all that really matters. While Grand Theft Auto 6 will return to Vice City, the map will also evolve over time, not unlike Fortnite's map, Henderson says. However, it's unclear if the map will change for the game's single-player campaign, or if Henderson is strictly referring to the game's inevitable online component. I've never really played Fortnite much. I play a few hours here and there, so I'm not really too familiar with the map mechanic. I'm assuming it's probably dynamic and it changes like they're saying. But if they could do something like this with the GTA, I'm kind of curious, like, what does that entail? Like, how do you change the world as you're playing? Is it like randomly generated? Like, what do they mean that like the map's going to evolve? Maybe like new buildings are added or something, or like as you do stuff, you make a permanent impact on the world. And I think that's one of the potential, frontiers, if you will, for video games. Is not necessarily graphics. While graphics are cool, and you know, he doesn't like games to look good, I think the next thing should be like artificial intelligence, or just games that are really cool in terms of their immersion. Like, you have more decisions, you can impact things more, you have a wide variety of things that you can do. It's beyond graphics at this point, I think the most important thing for games, as are demonstrated by, you know, whether a game does really well these days, is its immersion factor, as well as the story, and, you know, its ability to tell a story that's enriching, interesting, not the same thing that you're told all the time, and for the ability of the game to react to your decisions, whether that's through artificial intelligence or just adding on consequences for what you've done. So hopefully, we'll get some more of that with this generation of consoles. Henderson stated that he wasn't able to confirm these rumors as much as he would have liked, but journalists Jason Schreier and VGC both individually corroborated what Henderson said, stating that they've heard similar details from their sources. Schreier even previously reported on an evolving map for the next Grand Theft Auto game. Another possible reason for Grand Theft Auto 6 falling behind schedule is that Rockstar co-founder Dan Houser, who is known as the main creative force behind modern Rockstar titles, left the company in March 2020. Houser recently filed papers to start his own company. Okay, so I guess he didn't necessarily create Rockstar or Grand Theft Auto, but he's been behind a lot of the more recent games. So I know this guy, and as I mentioned, the other guy from CD Projekt Red, they're making their own studios. So hopefully they actually create some interesting games that are not just the same boilerplate stuff that we always see. And I understand, publishers spend hundreds of millions of dollars. I think, what was GTA 5 didn't have a $500 million budget. Granted, 200 million of that was in marketing, but still. And I think they've sold over 100 million copies. So what is the profit margin? I think they would make, well, I'm not exactly sure, but it's probably they need to double whatever they sell the games for. So if they're selling them for $60, they probably, they're making $30 per game or something like that. I'm not really sure. But hopefully these individuals starting their own companies are going to make some interesting games coming out pretty soon. And that's really all I have regarding this article. I just thought it's kind of interesting to note that GTA 6 will not be out for another 4 years or so. Who knows, the way games are going now, it might be delayed even further. So what are your thoughts about this? Are you looking forward to it? Are you going to get a new console? Are you going to try to play on PC? Or are you just going to wait for, the price of GPUs and everything to go down a little bit before you get back into the current gen of gaming? Anyway, let me know down below. And I'm Cadwin. You can catch me on YouTube, BitChute, Odyssey, and Rumble. And thanks a lot for checking this video out. And until next time, take care.